This article is from Collider from a few days ago. Captain America Brave New World is about to pass the film that started it all at the box office. It took 3 whole weeks, but it's finally happening. Captain America Brave New World is no longer the lowest grossing installment of the Captain America series. The superhero movie is set to overtake Captain America the First Avenger's lifetime figures domestically on Monday, but has now passed the first Captain America film on the global stage. Brave New World is still among the lowest grossing films of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the most successful film franchise in history, but it's slowly lifting itself out of a particularly tragic pool of flops. Well, we'll discuss that further in a moment, but before we do, it is worth considering that, and this is an important point, Captain America the First Avenger is a very well-received film, both from critics and fans and all general audiences. It's a very well-liked film. Captain America Brave New World is not. Let's read on. With $176.5 million domestically and $370.7 million globally, Brave New World is just $100,000 short of overtaking the first Avenger domestically, but has surpassed the first Captain America film's worldwide total. Released in 2011 as part of the MCU's Phase 1, the first Avenger concluded its global run with around $370.6 million. This was nothing to write home about considering its reported $150 million budget, but fans seem to like star Chris Evans in the titular role, and the film has certainly grown in reputation since then. That being said, it was released 14 years ago, and for a contemporary superhero film to surpass its lifetime run isn't as enviable an achievement as it sounds. It's also worth saying that we do kind of need to take inflation into account here, just a little bit when dealing with these numbers. The article goes on to make mention of the box office performances of Captain America Winter Soldier, Civil War, as well as Avengers Endgame. Later in the article it says, unlike each of these movies, Brave New World opened to poor reviews, which I think is very important. It appears to have settled at a rotten 48% approval rating on the aggregator website Rotten Tomatoes. But fortunately, it's also not as expensive as the more recent MCU titles such as Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, The Marvels, and Thor: Love and Thunder. Directed by Julius Onah, I think that's supposed to be the movie cost, a reported $180 million to produce, and also features Harrison Ford in a prominent role. Yeah, so here's the thing. If you focus on the $180 million reported budget, then yes, Captain America Brave New World, despite its mixed to poor reviews, would certainly be faring pretty okay at the box office right now. But of course, that $180 million is merely the original production budget for the film and doesn't factor into account the enormous amount of money spent on reshoots. Some estimates across the web have put the film's actual production budget to $300 million, or even more in some cases. Now, I'll get back to that in a moment. First things first, box office figures for Weekend 4 for Brave New World are now available as per Box Office Mojo. The domestic figures have plummeted again. So, let's recap. Weekend 1 was $88 million, and that's $100 million over the President's Day weekend. Then Weekend 2 dropped 68.3% to just $28 million. Weekend 3 dropped another 47.3% to $14.8 million. And now Weekend 4 has dropped another 43.5% to just $8.3 million. The total international gross worldwide is $371 million, but keep in mind that studios don't receive as much from the international gross because of higher international distribution fees. This article is from IGN. Captain America Brave New World's real budget? You'll never know, and this is why. Looking at box office and the cost of doing mega franchise business. It's no secret that the latest Marvel film, Captain America Brave New World, didn't exactly light the world on fire in terms of critical response, fan response, or box office. In fact, on the latter front, some folks have been doom-watching as Brave New World limps along, making money each weekend since its release, but not really making MCU money. The thing about Hollywood movie budgets is it's always difficult to track how much money actually went into a film. Yes, budgets will be cited by studio insiders and the like, but there's no real way to know how accurate those figures are unless you're a number cruncher on the inside, in this case at Disney or Marvel. and sometimes damage control and image perception will impact the budgets that are reported. Damage control and image perception in Hollywood? Who knew? Yes, indeed. I certainly think that if we were to focus purely on that reported production budget of $180 million, it certainly helps to make this film look a lot more financially successful, doesn't it? But it doesn't tell the whole story. Later in the article it says, the Brave New World budget that has been reported by trade outlets like Variety and The Hollywood Reporter is $180 million. But that seems low considering the reported at least 22 days of reshoots, and indeed some well-sourced industry observers indicate that the final budget was significantly higher. According to the Hot Mic, the budget was in the range of $300 million, while Joanna Robinson and Dave Gonzalez, who wrote the book MCU: The Reign of Marvel Studios, have said their sources peg the movie as costing closer to $380 million. Bear in mind, there's also the matter of P&A, prints and advertising costs, which would be in the tens of millions at the very least, if not higher for an MCU blockbuster. Variety pegs P&A for Brave New World at $100 million. And then there's the revenue split that the studio has to share with theatre owners. Now, in the final paragraph, the article says, is releasing a stinker like Brave New World the cost of doing business for a shared universe mega franchise these days? You gotta keep the factory line running, as Lucilla Ball learned all those years ago, and if that means every now and then stuffing your face full of chocolate that you don't really even want, at least you know it comes out in the wash in the end. Yeah, I disagree. Firstly, less is most definitely more when it comes to a big franchise, or any franchise for that matter. Focus on quality over quantity. The MCU would no doubt have been a lot stronger after Endgame if it had taken a 1 or 2 year hiatus after what had been 11 years of films at that point. The films only started to feel assembly line and a cookie cutter and copy and paste after Endgame, in my view. The franchise needed a rest, and of course, from the audience point of view, absence makes the heart grow fonder. But sentimentality aside, the brand has been hurt by consistent critical failures both on TV and in the cinema. That's just naturally going to lower audience confidence in a franchise. And when a franchise's brand reputation is damaged by consistently poor productions, even when a really good movie is produced in the series, it might be too little too late at that point, because a big chunk of the audience will have been turned off and they simply won't bother paying to go and see the film in the cinema because they're going to assume that the film isn't going to be good, even if it is. Disney Marvel don't need to churn out consistently subpar content just to keep the MCU afloat. And also, the bigger the budget, the potentially bigger box office bombs when the films aren't good. Those are just my thoughts. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe for more. Hit that like button and share the video out there. Take care, guys, and I shall see you in the next video. Bye-bye.